Today, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to use stored procs within SQL. And this is going to be through a few different examples, one with no parameters, one with one parameter, and one with two parameters. Along the way, we are going to be updating some of these stored procs. We're going to be deleting them, and I'm going to show you guys how to test them to make sure that they are working properly. And before we start coding out our first ever stored proc, I want to show you guys a kind of a use case for stored procedures. Well, you want to use a stored procedure when you're going to use the same exact SQL code multiple times. Now, in my full-time job, we have reports that are based off of Visual Studio, and we can link a stored procedure to that. So anytime someone runs the report, the stored procedure is called. And that is way more efficient and better than just having inline SQL within these reports. That way I can make changes specifically in SQL Server Management Studio, and also the stored proc runs faster for those reports. Anyways, let's start coding our first example. So the table that we're going to be using for all three stored procs today is Nolan Ryan career stats. This is data that I imported from Baseball Reference into my database, and I have a full video teaching you guys how to do it if you're not familiar with adding in a CSV. Regardless though, if you're not familiar with baseball, this table has the different years that Nolan Ryan pitched, the age associated with it, wins, loss, as well as many other statistics that baseball nerds actually care about. So with that being said, let's build out our first stored proc, which is just going to be a select star from this table. Now, the first thing that you're going to do as well is make sure that you're in the correct database. Now, I'm going to put this under my YouTube database, so I can click over here where it says master, and I'm going to drop down to YouTube. And however else you have your databases built out, make sure that you have that. And I'll show you also how to build out stored procs within a certain database as well a little bit later in this video. But this is going to be your first very entry-level rudimentary stored procedure. I'm also going to comment this out so that way we can start building this out properly. So how you can do this is write out first create, and I always keep mine capitalized like this. And then you can put either proc or procedure. Both work properly, and just depends what you like. I'm just going to keep create proc because it's a little bit shorter and more efficient to type this out. Next, we want to have our stored procedure name, and kind of as an importance within your database and naming conventions. A lot of people will start off their stored proc with SP like this, and then your stored procedure name. Each database has their own rules that you have to follow by, but this is very common. Now, I'm just going to say this is SP, and I'm going to say all Nolan Ryan stats, just like that. Next, what you can do is type in as. You can either keep it in the same line or you can put it down below. I just keep it down below. So we have that, and then we can start writing our query. So I'm just going to copy this over here. So this is our normal select star, throw that in here. Let's uncomment that, and we should be able to run this now. So click over here, execute, or press F5, and you should get down below here, commands completed successfully, and it shows our completion time. So now let's make sure our stored procedure works. I'm going to do a new query, and all you have to do is type in either EXEC or execute. Both of these work. So again, I'm going to be faster and just put exec, and then you can just copy over your stored procedure. So let's do this and click execute, and you can see everything is shown down below. Another method that all you have to do is when you have this create proc, all you have to do is select this, click execute, and all the data shows. Now within your database, let me show you where this is at. Go to your Object Explorer. First thing that you need to do is click this refresh, so that way your stored procedure populates. Then you go over here to this plus icon, you go over here to databases, go to the database you want. In this example, I'm going to do YouTube. Then we're going to go over here to programmability, and then stored procedures, just like this. And now you can see dbo.sp, and then all Nolan Ryan stats, which is really cool to see. So what I can do if I want to edit the stored procedure is click over here and then script stored procedure as. Now create would be creating a brand new one. Alter is updating it. And I'll show you guys kind of a shortcut as well, which is create or alter. And I do this all the time when I'm building out procedures. I've gotten in a habit to always write create or alter proc. So you can see how this specifically looks. Now you have your use, which is our specific database, which I mentioned I was going to show you guys a little bit later. But when you create your stored proc over here, it automatically populates a specific database. So it is proper to put this at the very top. We also have our go, which I'll explain how that works in a second. Then you have these two commands, which you'll see all the time, which is set ANSI on, and then set quoted identifier on. Anytime that you create a stored proc from over here or alter it, these are going to populate on this side of things, as well as this comment, which is always going to show up. And this is when this has been built out. You can see my comments from the other one have populated over. And then we have create or alter proc. And this is formatted way, way better. And we have as, and we have select star from youtube.dbo, Nolan Ryan stats. So let's alter this procedure now. And before I alter this, I want to show you one additional thing that I would add in a stored procedure. So after as, I'm just going to type in begin. And then at the very end, right before go, I'm going to have end. And this allows you to know like when your procedure, the code starts and also ends within your stored proc. So just remember to add in your begin and end when you start building out a little bit more complicated queries. Now, what we're going to do this time is we're going to add in a parameter. So let's say we just wanted to have stats for a specific year. So what I'm all going to do is go over here and I'm going to type in at year int. And this allows me to add in a parameter to SP all Nolan Ryan stats. And how we can use this parameter now is we can filter on the specific year. So currently we have a select star from YouTube DBO Nolan Ryan stats. But what I'm going to do is add in a where clause and do where year equals at year. Okay. And since we've added this in here, we now have to update our procedure. And because we have a create or alter proc, this will allow us to alter this procedure SP all Nolan Ryan stats. Again, all you have to do is press F5, or you can just click this execute button over here. It says commands completed successfully. So if we go back over here where I have SP all Nolan Ryan stats, we now need to add in a specific year. So let's grab a season for Nolan Ryan. Let's grab in 1984. So all you have to do is type in 1984 like this, copy this over and execute and take a look. Now we just show 1984. Or let's say we have it 1981. Again, same thing. Copy that. And look, it runs properly. Another thing that you could do is just type in at year equals, which clearly defines we're using the year parameter, and we have our equals the specific year. Instead of 1981, let's say 1979. So again, copy all that. And 1979 populates. And everything that I showed over here, you can also do within your stored proc. All I have to do is over here to the right. And let's say we have 1975 this time. Copy all the way over here where it has DBO. And now you can see that 1975 is populating down below. Okay, awesome. Now let's take a look at one more example. Let's do two parameters. We're going to filter this table by strikeouts and also wins. So what I'm going to do is go down below over here and say at strikeouts int. I'm going to put a comma, and then I'm going to do at wins int, and we don't need a comma here at the end. Again, we keep our as begin the same, and we still have select star and then from the table. But we're going to put in our where clause and say where SO is greater than at strikeouts and W is greater than at wins. So what this procedure now going to allow me to do is show any year that Nolan Ryan has more strikeouts than what I define, and also with the wins being what I define. So for example, if I do 100 strikeouts and 10 wins, it'll show the specific years with all the stats. And then we don't need to do anything else. All I have to do is click execute or F5 as this commands completed successfully. So as I mentioned, all I have to do, let's say strikeouts over 100. So let's say 100 over here, and then 10 wins. I'll put 10 there, and just go over here and execute this. and you can see the specific seasons. So there's 17 seasons where Nolan Ryan had over 100 strikeouts and 10 wins. We change this now to 200. Again, drag over. Now we're down to 11. And like earlier, I can just say at strikeouts equals 200. And then at wins equal 10. And let's change this up and say wins is 15 just for this example here, and execute that. And now we're down to 8 specific rows. Now to wrap all this up, I'll show you guys 2 different methods on how we could specifically drop this stored proc. So first, I'm just going to comment out these filters, and you can do this all the time on your test. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is a drop. So we can just say drop and then proc and then type in the name. So let's say SP Ryan stats like this, and just execute. And it says commands completed successfully. So now if I wanted to try and run this, we'll see what happens. And we get this error because the stored proc is gone. Now I want this back again. So just comment this out over here and execute. And our stored proc is here again. And comment this. And stored proc is working. So, that's one method. And the other method you could do, you go over here to the Object Explorer, right click this one, and then go over here to delete. And it says object to be deleted. You click OK. And now it is gone. Again, we could test this out. So grab all this. And you can see could not find stored proc. I'm just going to create this again. So comment that out. And our stored proc is back in the database. Just to double check if this works. And one last thing before we wrap up this tutorial, after as and begin, one thing I do at work is set no count on. And that way it doesn't show in the client how many rows are impacted by a stored proc. So again, since I have a create or alter, I can just click execute over here and commands have been completed successfully. And this will sometimes allow your procedure to run a little bit faster. Hope you learned something new in this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe, as it does help out the channel and allowing it to grow within the YouTube algorithm. Now, if you want to watch another SQL video, you should watch this one right over here. This is a beginner SQL course, over 1 hour long, full of examples.